Welcome to another edition of Your Impact Attack. That's right, it's Your Impact Attack. That's right, I'm looking right at you right there. It's yours. What am I doing with it? Why do I have your Impact Attack? Why does Brandon have your Impact Attack? Why do we have your Impact Attack? Well, I am part of the VBC. I'm the V in the VBC. I am the vet, Jamie Williams. Hello. Brandon is the B in the VBC, and he receives the hot tag as the V tags the B in. Brandon, what's going on? Woo, it's hot stuff.
Not much, man. Another start to another week. The beginning of November. Let's get it. Whoop whoop.
That's right, and of course we couldn't do it without the C. Actually, we have both the embodiments of the C here at the same time. We've got the original C telling lies, telling blatant lies right there in the chat. And we've also got, who else have we got?
See, we got Liz, we got Steve Eggert, and of course, more will be showing up later. Whoop whoop.
That's right. Oh, Revamp Wrestling dropping in to say hi. Hello, Revamp. Thank you very much for stopping in. Appreciate it. That's right. You can always catch this for a limited time afterwards, so be sure to do that if you can't be with us live every week. Yep. Some of my favorite people are here. Liz and Steve got to be two of my favorite people. But yeah, we're going to talk about some TNA wrestling, so hopefully they don't run off. But before we talk about any TNA wrestling, I guess we could talk about some other things. Perhaps, maybe, I'm not really sure. What are some noteworthy things that are going on in the world? Brandon, have you had anything slide across your desk lately that needs taking a look at?
Wrestling wise or real world wise?
Anything at all.
Well, since we're talking about wrestling, let's keep it in the world of wrestling and see we got Gamblers with us. Yeet Vember, pal. Whoop whoop.
That's right.
Let's see the big announcement of WWE ID.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of a big deal.
That? What do you think about that? What do you think about it?
It certainly has its pros. At least it'll help kind of eliminate some of the bottom of the barrel schools and promotions. But unfortunately, it might ice some of the better ones out that don't really have the resources and the abilities to get their name out there.
Well, isn't this just a sort of isn't this a sort of an extension of I don't know. I know I said at some point in the past that I think it's possible that even though it's not going to be like it once was, but we could sort of get a version of a territory system again. And
if that's how it was treated, I'd be 100% behind it. Like okay, it's our own, we're our own, and our developmental system is basically the old NWA.
Right. I don't know how everybody else would feel about that. I think the important thing, the most important thing about the new sort of leadership of WWE, I won't say ownership, because I don't know exactly how hands-on they are with the WWE's day-to-day activities. But as far as the leadership, I feel as though one of the things that is potentially the most positive about it is just the relaxing of the sort of I must own everything mentality and everything else must be either crushed or not exist mentality. If Triple H looks at as a guy that, as Triple H as a wrestling fan and a guy that grew up watching, probably whatever wrestling he could and being a fan of whatever wrestling that he saw, he's a kind of a guy who would say, yeah, I definitely think that it's better for the business to have more places, more options, to have more thriving um, areas. That back in those the territory days, there weren't really any such things as wrestling schools. So with that, that's where the new wrinkle comes in terms of like a modern landscape where you're looking at these schools are their own business. They ask these kids to come in and pay them hundreds or thousands of dollars to train, and that's how they make their money. That is their business. So that's a little bit different, but having just being there to be certainly supportive of things that people are doing. One of the things of which the Nightmare Factory, which is Cody's thing, but that still has heavy ties to AEW, right? So there's not really any pettiness as far as like, well, we're not gonna AEW, So like yes, it's Cody's thing, but you know, it's still part of like QT is there as far as I know, things like that. So we'll see how that actually works. We'll see if people can play together. Um, but I just like the option that they're not just looking at like, oh yes, the rest of the world doesn't exist, only this. That's better for everybody in my opinion. But what do you think about that?
No, I'm totally with that. And as you're talking about, like, the old territory system, that kind of got me thinking is a little bit of this, Triple H trying to bring that back and use it as like the ultimate like farm talent development system. So what better way to develop your talent than have them travel, throughout the different territories, wrestle in front of different crowds against different opponents, and get them seasoned and get them the reps.
Yeah. That's the other thing too. Like the WWE always wants talent. I mean, that's what NXT was kind of all about. And there were eyes everywhere as far as like who could potentially make money for the company, right? And we're enjoying this a prosperous period right now where houses and business are up. Yes, some of that is due to higher prices as far as like business part of it, but regardless of prices being what they are, the people are in the buildings, so that's something right there, and it is a live event business. So in that sense, it's pretty much a success, and they got a lot of the people they got from all that scouting that they did from NXT and on. Guys like Regal, and who would guys even like I don't know how much Jerry Briscoe still does, but he was doing a lot of that kind of stuff. So um I just foresee that continuing. And there's gonna be guys that are like, hey, this guy's pretty good. I think one day he could be a WWE superstar. And then there's also going to be guys that are only going to be they're only going to get so far in wrestling. They might be a superstar in, whatever, in Seth Rollins' school in Iowa somewhere. Like in that, they might be an Iowa superstar, but maybe not going to be like a major world stage superstar. There's still plenty of good wrestlers that their local area and promotion needs them more than the WWE needs them. So they
Plus,
leave those guys there, and then they take the guys that they think may have, like a real superstar potential.
right? And since they're affiliated with the WWE and they're getting subsidies from WWE, you need to pay those salary for that person. Like that, somebody to help develop this talent and make them better, even though they themselves will never become stars. That's a valuable player to have on your roster.
Right. So we're not going to see the long-term effects of this for, well, a long time. We'll see how that goes. But so far, from what I limited research and understanding that I have, it sounds like a good thing. So there you go. Let's see what else is going on.
My ultimate conclusion is it has the potential to be an amazing, great thing for wrestling, but wrestling business is going to wrestling business. We'll see how it turns out.
The ball's in everyone else's court, is what it seems like to me. It's up to them what they do with this. If they try to grift the WWE, then that's going to be bad news for them, I think, in the long run. Uh, Labrat says, "Do you think they gave Rikishi's school the deal to keep him silenced?" Eh, no, because I'm sure that they knew that he wouldn't, even if they did. So they're probably just, you know, it's probably
Right.
just a good faith thing.
Right. And it's possible the deal was already in place when he started talking. That's why he felt comfortable talking like, well, I'm already signed. I can say what I want.
Yeah. Do you think Rikishi's school has like a complaining 101 course? Like, is that part of the curriculum there at that school? Like how to politic in the locker room for a better spot or a better spot for your family or anything? I don't know. Um, hmm. So what else do we got? We were talking about Chris Bay and his injury last week. I believe was it maybe Matt Hardy said something about TNA taking care of his medical expenses. Even though I saw a lot of people um, were trying to raise funds for it. Like for example, uh, I think the major wrestling figures, you know, Cardona and Myers, I think they were going to have like a special charity action figure made and things like that. But I thought I saw something where Matt Hardy said that TNA was going to take care of it. So, which that was the first thing I thought when I saw this. It's like all these fundraisers and everything. And I'm like, nobody should have to pay a dime for, nobody should have to pay a dime. Sorry, I popped this, Steve. This, it's definitely like a shitty promo class. Um, but yeah, so nobody should have to pay a dime to help Chris Bay. That should all be TNA as far as that goes. Now, if you wanna buy, you know, special, you know, merch or things to, you know, like a special action figure or things like that, that's always great. You know, you want to buy merch to support the person always, whether they're healthy or not. Um, but yeah, I'm not really sure about those GoFundMe's and Kickstarters and things. So, you know, I'm a little always wary of that kind of stuff. But I guess the surgery itself was successful. So now we just got the road to recovery. And other than that,
Look, yeah, looking for that quote right now. Yeah, so Matt Hardy said this on his podcast, The Extreme Life of Matt Hardy. Quote, TNA is taking care of the expenses, but it's just to make sure that he is safe and he feels his own self. The wrestling community has been so selfless and so great about it. It's been amazing. End quote.
yeah, that seems like I don't see a world where anybody that gets injured wrestling should have to pay for any of the medical bills. It doesn't matter if you have insurance or any of that stuff. The company should just be like, whatever, you know, here you go, whatever it costs. It happened on our time, so there you go. Even if you did something crazy, it would still be nice. It's crazy that they weren't, that they didn't agree with, but but yeah, same thing with Vikingo. He should probably, even as unadvised as some of those moves that he does are, and as dangerous as it seems for him, he's constantly getting hurt. Then I still think that, you know, TNA should be like, here you go, kid, get that knee looked at. So so there's that, and I don't know, not really much major news in wrestling, right? I don't think. What about you guys? You
Uh,
guys got anything?
Oh man, I can't really think of anything else. I mean, there was that whole thing about, Vince McMahon, Linda McMahon, WWE getting sued for civil suit about, ring boys, but I can't really think of anything else.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit last week, right? So nothing new since then. Uh, unfortunately, Quincy Jones, I heard, passed away recently.
I did hear about that. Yeah.
What a legend that guy is! Holy cow, um, that's crazy.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, this. Okay, you're right. You're right, Liz. There was something reported about Vince starting a new company, and it was to be like an entertainment company. And my response to that is, excuse me, did we not have WWE films? What are you going to do that you couldn't do with that? It's ridiculous. We got what we got. We got the See No Evil and 20 Marine sequels and a bunch of other failed garbage projects. Vince has a new show called Casting Couch, Lab Rat says, and he made sure to put the couch emoji on there just in case we didn't get it.
Well, I think with Vince, it'd be called, instead of Casting Couch, it'd be called Toilet Bowl.
Right. And if Vince wants to be as hands-on with this company,
hands all over, pal.
Yeah. As he always purportedly has been, not only, and I'm just talking about the actual work of the company. You see how you can't even talk about Vince McMahon without everything becoming an innuendo. Like, it's impossible now. He's ruined everything for everyone. It's terrible. Because it sounds like no matter how you phrase something, it sounds like you're making light of it, right?
Like, dude, as soon as we started talking about it, the jokes just started coming in.
Yep, that's it. So, anyway, but just saying, as much as Vince McMahon wanted to be in control of every aspect of his business, if now he has this other entertainment company that's going to be producing movies, TV shows, and all these other things like he already has. Well, Brandon, you did a watch along of No Holds Barred. He wrote that when he wasn't senile. So imagine the kind of stuff that's going to come out of this thing. Did you guys ever even watch WWE Network programming? Did you guys watch like their shitty cartoons like Camp WWE? Did you watch those punked ripoff shows? Did you watch any of that original content that aired when the WWE Network first launched? I mean, do you remember all those WWE films that they made that were just absolute, I mean, I've seen worse movies, but not many. So if you already had that and you had at least, you could say, oh, we got John Cena in this movie. We got Steve Austin in this movie. We got Randy Orton, whatever, like Triple H. Like you got all these people, the chaperone, like what if you had all these people now and you couldn't get it done there, what are you going to do with this company? It's not, this is going to go nowhere, is what I think.
I have no idea what's going through Vince's head, other than he thinks, okay, it's not going to be a wrestling project. It's going to be a Hollywood project. I'm going to do it with Hollywood people, and it's going to be different. That's right, all I can really think of.
Right. Because as Liz said, he wants to be Harvey Weinstein Jr. And after the Harvey Weinstein thing, how many people in Hollywood are interested in an accused, basically Harvey Weinstein, but maybe worse? Like who wants to touch that? Who wants to have their name attached to Vince McMahon at this point? Even if he ended up being innocent, we've seen how that works out for like people that have been accused once, right? Fucking, when's the last time you saw Aziz Ansari do anything? And all I could tell was that his date didn't go as well as she would have liked. And I'd never seen that dude ever do anything again. Now, what is Vince McMahon gonna? How is he gonna come back from this? Who's gonna want to work with him? I don't. To me, I think it's funny. I look forward to him, failing a business that isn't something that was already established by his father and grandfather. I look forward to him failing yet another business like the Bodybuilding Federation or the movie studio or the restaurant or everything else that or the XFL or everything else he's ever done that wasn't already the WWF, which wasn't even him. He grifted his dad to get it. The only success he ever had was something that was third generation. Go for it, Vince. Good luck. Good luck to you.
We make movies, pal.
Yep. No holds barred.
What's that smell?
Vince's new company. So, yeah. Well, now might be a good time, if no one has anything else, our weekly question from Chris Winland. We could put that here. And then as we go over this question, then if you guys think of anything else you want to ask before we start getting into the Impact review, then please feel free to type it in. Here's our question from Chris Winland. Since the vet loves kendo sticks so much, can you guys discuss weapons as a topic? Have you used or been hit by weapons, gone through tables, or been involved in any hardcore matches? Thoughts on weapons in general? All right, well, let me explain before anything else, because I probably have less to say on this, personally, than Brandon might. So I'll let him be the main event on this one. But the kendo stick joke is a running gag that I've done since I've been in Hameen Media Group, where if a kendo stick appeared randomly in any match, I disavow the match as if like it never happened. And I just say that in the review. Because I find the idea of kendo sticks ridiculous. It's one of the most out of place things you could find. I don't know how much kendo is practiced in the United States, but it's probably not enough for somebody to have a steady supply of these things at all times. No matter what city you go to, there's always several under the ring. Like they're just, it'd be harder to find an extra chair in the building than a kendo stick sometimes. So I make exceptions if the kendo sticks are part of a person's gimmick. Like if the Sandman has his Singapore cane, right? I'm not going to say, oh yeah, well, I'm not, it's Sandman. Or, Eddie, Fat Eddie and Thin Lishy have their own kendo sticks each. Kenny and Kendra, like they're characters on the show at this point. So if they have those, then I'm not saying that doesn't count. I'm simply talking about how they just have it under the ring like extra supplies, like a toolbox or something. Because what else would you use that for but to hit another person with? There's no one's doing their sword fighting practice on their off hours. So that's where the joke comes from. Just the absolute ubiquity of kendo sticks is preposterous to me. So that's that joke. Now, as for being, using weapons, being hit by weapons, those kind of things. So basically, in wrestling, if I was to equate it to like an education, it was like I basically did like my full schedule, my full university schedule, and then like I dropped out of school before I took the final exams to get my degree. Is basically the way I would describe like how my wrestling career was. Like I dropped out and then I didn't really ever go apply for any jobs after that. So didn't take my final exams, don't have a degree, but have basically all of the education, right? Now, to continue with the analogy, um, like what I was doing was basically based around like the school, the training part of OVW. Yes, I had matches in front of people, and yes, they were some were televised, and on local television. So that's experience that some indie workers don't get. But ultimately, it was kept very basic because we were at the training level, and also there were certain rules that the Kentucky State Athletic Commission had that would prohibit the use of things that could potentially cause like bleeding and stuff. So like weapons were not part of our like we had to learn to work basically. We had to learn to get over with basics and character and things like that. So to have been using weapons would have been like, to continue the school analogy, that would be like if you're going to medical school and while you're still a medical school student, you are cutting people's kidneys out and leaving them in a bathtub and selling the kidneys on the black market. That's like the equivalent of what it would have been like to be just going through tables and doing trash cans and doing all that other, that garbage wrestling type stuff at that time. No, I did not do any of that. So I don't have any experience with it. And even if we were, I'm pretty sure I probably would have tried to get out of it the best I could, because I just don't believe that or I believe what I do believe is that its usage is completely saturated, oversaturated in and across the business. So it doesn't mean anything anymore. All right, I'm done. I said a lot. Brandon, what about you?
When it comes to weapons and hardcore and stuff like that, it's again, it really kind of depends on the situation, and plus, you can have a match like that on the card because again, it's a buffet. But I do remember, like, I did actually have a match where kendo sticks were involved, but it was also a match that was built to, and it happened to be like once something that was built to in a spot. Because I think what was it? I had the kendo stick. I whacked the guy on the head. I bounced off the ropes, went for a crossbody, and while I was doing that, or springboard crossbody, while I was doing that, he picked the kendo stick up, and then while I was coming down for the crossbody, he smacked me right in the head with it.
How'd that feel?
Honestly, it was a stinging, and then it went right away because it could not have landed any better. Like,
So
he
basically
nailed
hit
it.
you on the top, right?
Yep.
Basically the hardest part of your body. So it's the ring apron of the body. All right. Well, when you say you built to it, like it was when you say it was built to, I mean, did you guys have a story going into it where you both had like gone to high school in Japan and you had taken like your physical education courses, you did your kendo classes and things got like a little too heated, and that's why when you came back to the States you had to continue your feud of practice sword fighting in the ring and settle it in a pro wrestling ring? Was that the build up? Am I close?
It was more like we'd had a few matches and a bit of like a slight angle going into it, and then we were kind of expecting the announcers to tell the story of, we put a bunch of stuff there prior to use later when it's time for our match.
Oh, okay. So no Japanese PE then. Okay.
Now that'd been more fun though. I wish I'd had we went with that.
Could have done one promo, got it all over. So yeah, so other than that, did you have other things like, over the times, like tables or garbage cans, things like that?
Never did a garbage can spot, but in that same match, we had a table spot where I was supposed to take a moonsault while he was holding a chair.
Mm-hmm.
I was supposed to go through it. He ends up bouncing right off me. You don't go back to it at all. It's just like, well, that didn't go right. We're going right to the finish.
I see. And so the table remained standing.
Pretty much.
Yep.
Yeah, like he hit me and rolled right off. Like I'm just laying there going, well, fuck.
How much time was after that? Like, did you have to work around the table then, since you didn't go back to it?
No, not really, because the finish was, I think it was because his finisher is a fisherman buster, and he ends up hitting to me on a chair that's like set out in the middle of the ring. He hits me with it, and he gets like as soon as he rolls off, like I roll off the table, he picks me up and like fuck it, finish, hits it.
Okay, so it just went right home after you bounced off the table.
Right, because that's what we're supposed to go to, and it's like spot got blown, take it home.
So wait, so now if the table broke, if the table had indeed broken, would that mean that you were then supposed to kick out? Or was he just going to pick you right up and do the fisherman buster, even though he just put you through the table and not let you sell it?
Now that you mention that, that's actually oof.
Let's go back in the archives of your mind here.
Yeah. Yeah, now that you mentioned that, that might have been a call on the fly. Like he might have seen the chair, and like he might have seen the chair in the ring and just kind of just because he was a longtime veteran, knew his way around the ring and just said, "All right, we'll take it home here." Like call the new finish on the fly. Okay, now it's starting to make a lot more sense. Like now that I remember, yeah, okay, he actually called the new finish on the fly. That was supposed to be the finish.
Oh, the table moonsault was supposed to be the finish. That would have been a good finish, yeah.
Yeah, but he just called on the fly and said, "All right, take the fisherman buster through the chair."
Pretty good. So that was like, that was a situation in which you were just like told, just listen to me out there, even though you guys probably had some pre-planned stuff.
I mean, there were a few spots that were pre-planned, but it's basically like one of those things where, I was a young guy. He's the vet, kind of giving me the rub and being in there with him. It's like, just listen to me and follow my lead. You got it, boss.
Yeah. Yeah, those are always a lot easier, I found. Just to do what somebody says,
Those are my favorite matches, man. I didn't have to worry about anything. All I had to do was listen to them and do my thing.
Yeah. And then surprisingly, when the shoe was on the other foot, it was easier than I thought it would be. If I had to imagine what it would be like the first time having to call a match in the ring or lead somebody else through it. Before doing it, I would think, God, I don't know if I could do that. But when you have to do it, it's like, oh, well, this isn't so bad, because all you really have to do is you do what would make sense in the moment. And, the struggle I had with it wasn't so much like how I would do it, but just like, I'd be like, oh, I could have called it better. Like I could have told them more exactly what I wanted them to do and not left as much up to them if they were green, which would cause issues. I could have told them exactly where to sell, exactly, where to move, all these things. And because of maybe my own nervousness or forgetting, like maybe I didn't do it, I wasn't as comfortable with it, but it got easier over time. So yeah, so that was that. And then, yeah, just the thoughts on weapons in general. I think we both have the same thought, which is too much nowadays, like way too much, so that it doesn't really feel like you'll see on a card. And man, this is like the AEW's got to be currently the worst offender, because they feel like they're behind the eight ball, so they have to like really, really, okay, I didn't mean that to be how it sounded, but they have to, they really do have to, what's the word, hot shot everything. So they're a little bit desperate in what they do, and that's how you can end up with an angle where you try to kill Bryan Danielson with a plastic bag right before you have the main event cage match where two guys try to kill each other with concrete blocks and other things. Like, hey, save some for us. Don't try to murder a guy right before our murder match.
How much longer before people are legit getting hit by cars on camera?
I did it for The Rock. Please come to my wrestling school. Do they have a vehicular homicide class at Rikishi's wrestling school?
To be fair, like I did hear Tommy Blacha, the head guy who was the head writer at the time, talk about the thing. How like they said like it was a stunt man and like a stunt driver, and then like they had like when they did the thing where they had a shot, they quickly like panned it, kept it as on the shot of the car driving as long as possible, and then switched the stuntman out with Steve.
That's funny. Well, in any case, yeah. So too many weapons these days, and I really don't. I really don't. I don't know. Not a fan. It's because it's a shortcut, basically. Like when you see you see guys in other promotions, like you see like a Monsters Ball match in TNA, or you see anything GCW does, right? You see all these things. Yeah, you like whatever's going on out there that these people are doing these things. And then you turn on Monday Night Raw and see like Jey Uso getting a room full of people, an arena full of people just saying yeet and moving their hands up and down. That's
over,
much
pal.
more of a reaction than any of these other people are going to get doing this, human demolition derby stuff. Sorry. That's what we all want. Jey Uso's doing what you wish you were doing. He's making the money you wish you were making. He's as over as you wish you were over. And you can hit people with all the, aluminum trash cans you want. And that's not going to get you to the yeet level. So. And I say that so that Rikishi doesn't threaten me with anything. And also because it's true. So I think with that, if we have no further objections, then we can move on to the Impact review and see if they have any weapons on this show.
Weapons of mass destruction, pal.
Yeah, something. All right, well, we're going to get our traditional Bound for Glory edition, so it's Heinz ketchup packet.
Granted, it's got the DQ on there, but they use Heinz, I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah, they'll get disqualified, all right. So yeah, they catch up on Bound for Glory. And then they just stick a shot of PCO saying Happy Halloween at the end. It's great. But then we're gonna open up the show with Joe Hendry. Where are we? Because here comes a Joe Hendry looking person out to Joe Hendry's music, but oh my goodness, that's not Joe Hendry. Why that is Frankie Kazarian, the king of TNA, dressed like Joe Hendry with a wig. He's doing that thing that wrestlers do where they dress up like another wrestler and make fun of them. Even complete with the accent. He's definitely got, the Scottish accent going. So he does a promo as Joe Hendry until the real Joe Hendry comes out. And then at first, Joe Hendry kind of sells it. And then he ends up flipping it back on him and, saying that it took him however long he's been in the business, 47 years or something, to be interesting or to have a personality. And then he accuses Dolph Ziggler of screwing him over. And then Dolph Ziggler comes out and he's like, no, I didn't. And then he says, not only did I not do it, but you deserve a rematch. Because I went back and watched Bound for Glory because I wanted to make sure my hair was looking good. And it turns out that you got screwed, so I want to give you a rematch. And then we hear, do you guys want to know something? From good old Lish and the System. She says it 4 times. She asks if we want to know something 4 times, and you know, she's really leaning into this. And then she basically talks a bunch of shit. All the system talk a bunch of shit, except for Moose isn't there. And then the Kaz Hendry offers to be like the third man in a 6-man tag for Joe and Dolph, and they turn him down for that, to say the least. And by that I mean they give him a super kick and then a standing ovation. So he will not be joining them for a 6-man tag, and that's our opening segment. Lots of stuff. Brandon, what'd you think of this opening segment?
I liked it. I just wish there's more that we should have seen in between this and the main event, but that'll get taken care of later on.
All right. Well, Alicia Edwards and Tasha are still in the ring after we come back from break. And they say that, Masha's the new champion, but that title reign is on borrowed time. And then Masha comes out for a fight. Then they beat her up. And then Jordan Grace comes out. And then Santino comes out and makes a tag match for next week for them. And he's going to make a tag match for the main event tonight, which will be Dolph and Joe versus the System. So that being Eddie and JDC, I believe, in this version. So that was that. And then we get
Edward Edwards,
yes. And then we get not First Class but Coach versus the Rascals. They have a match. Trey Miguel was crotched on the top rope, and then AJ Francis delivered the down payment from the top rope for a win. Take that, Rascals. Do you have any thoughts on this particular contest?
It was an all right match. I mean, I think the right team went over. Need to establish a new pairing of, Francis and Navarro. And I really think Navarro's really kind of stepped it up. Like, he's kind of seen this as an opportunity to get himself over, and it seems like he's taking every advantage to do so. I'm really liking how he's eased into this role.
All right. Well, we've got another substitute coming up because we have Josh Alexander and the Good Hands. Where the hell is the Northern Armory? Well, he's going to explain this. They weren't going to be let into the country for Bound for Glory because TNA side travel issues, but he really thinks that TNA just didn't want them there and made sure that they weren't going to get into the country. So, then that leads into our match that we get. This was a 6-man. We did not get the 6-man for the main event because we're getting a 6-man now. And that 6-man would be I guess we'll call them the Southern Armory now because the United States is south of Canada. And they are facing Eric Young, Burt Macklin, and Jonathan Gresham. And John Skyler's in the match, so he's going to get beat here. So no surprise there, but just another little tag match to keep the show going with competitive sports action.
And I thought it served its purpose. At least they turned the visa issue into an angle that kind of helped further the Northern Armory as a stable, and gave Josh an opportunity to get his heel character over better with a decent promo.
And now you can set up something with the Good Hands on the Northern Armory.
There you go. Right there. It helps further establish the Northern Armory without having to beat and pin them and make them look like, Alexander's Fall Guys.
So instead of airing whatever match Vikingo was supposed to have had when he got hurt, they opted instead to show like the last however many minutes of the Bound for Glory match he had where he didn't get hurt. So that was what we had next on the show, the Bailey and Vikingo highlights from Bound for Glory. And then we see Trent Seven and Speedball comes in to give him a pep talk, and say that he has everything it takes to be a champion right here, and he points to his chest, meaning, because Mike Bailey's a classic baby face. And anyway, the system walks through, and they basically shit on it, and then this ends up with Moose. Basically, Moose says that if he wanted that X Division title, he would just take it. And Mike Bailey invites him to take it. So now I already know that these guys had a match because I've been seeing posts about it on, Twitter or, Instagram, whatever, talking about it coming up. So at first it seemed like, okay, why is this match just happening? And it really was just based off this one little backstage angle here. So Moose versus Mike Bailey. We're interested, obviously, but now how are they going to get out of this without Moose being the X Division champion? Because come on. Are they going to use a Dairy Queen ketchup packet, so to speak?
Or what if you swerve, 7 fucks over Bailey, Moose gets the title? You could do something with Moose as the X Division champion and have him just running roughshod over the X Division guys until you build the baby face up that beats him for it.
Yes, you could. I don't necessarily like the idea of Moose needing help to win. But
Well, it could be done in a way where Moose doesn't really need it. It's more 7 going, you know what? Fuck you, Bailey.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I can see that they would want to, I can see them wanting to turn Trent Seven, maybe. I just don't know if that's that interesting either. I just don't know how interesting the guy is in general. But oh well. Guess we'll see. Next is Danny Luna versus Ash by Elegance with all the proper, accompaniments at ringside and whatnot. But the finish comes with when Danny goes up to the top, and then there's some distractions run by the concierge, and then Heather hits her with a broom because it's Halloween. She's a witch, I guess. I don't know. Hits her with a broom, which leads to the rarefied air from Ash by Elegance for the win. Labrat says, "Did the broom turn you off?" I not really. You could hit somebody with a broom, I guess. What about you, Brandon? Did you like the use of broom?
Oh, here comes the wrestling nerd in me. Nice callback to when Arn Anderson did that to Paul Orndorff back in '95.
You think that's what they were thinking?
Probably not, no. But that's where my mind went.
Yeah, we need more wrestling brooms. I mean, if you just replace a kendo stick with broom, then all the logic in the world is back in play.
Well, and to be fair, it would make sense to have a broom underneath a wrestling ring. So you want to, in between matches, sweeping the, canvas.
Yeah. Could be any kind of a broom. It could be a push broom, even be a mop. Just, Okay, so I assume that this means that the new Ash and Heather by Elegance are gonna claim they need a Knockouts tag team title shot now.
I would assume that's where they're going. I mean, they need more tag teams for that division, so why not, teacher and protege with the whatever gimmick they're doing with them?
Why not? Scott Woodford is here. Hi, Scott Woodford. Thank
Hi,
you for coming.
Scott.
Okay. Next match is Lei Ying Lee versus Maggie Moore. Well, after watching her in this match, I would say I'd like to see Maggie less, but at least for uh, you know, Lee here, she had more poise, I think, than her first match. We were talking about that of like how she should be like the sort of the combination of stoicism and showboating that Bruce Lee was, I think would fit the character that she's trying to do more, or the just the persona, the aura, whatever she has going on, her presentation. I think that fits it a little bit more than this. Or this, she did better this time as far as like not being, like generic indie babyface trying too hard. I think she was a little bit more, she sold a little bit more. She seemed a little more confident in just her relative ring presence. So it was like an improvement. There's still some things that she could work on as far as that goes, but I don't know how much of that was just this local trying to get her shit in or whatever. I don't know. I don't know. I couldn't tell by looking at the match whether it was anybody to blame or I just know that some of Maggie's stuff didn't look that good. So I don't know. But anyway, the big surprise here is not that Lei Ying Lee wins. Like, for example, the Thunderstruck, her move, the Thunderstruck, which is basically like kind of like what would you say, a Trouble in Paradise kind of thing. Um, that sort of spinning kick thing. But like Maggie kind of kayfabed her on it. Like it looked like it barely touched her. So like I don't know. It just take it, lady.
Your job is to sell and get the person you're in the ring there over. If you do your job and you do it well, that means you get more work. What is that? What is hard for people to understand about that?
I don't know, but that's why she's Maggie Less. And yeah, so she'll quickly be forgotten and swept aside, perhaps with the broom that Heather used to knock Danny Luna from her perch atop the ring post. But the big story here is that after this win, Savannah Evans returns and attacks Lei Ying Lee viciously. And then she picks her up in a full Nelson slam, which is one of the trifecta of moves that basically says, I don't have a finisher. These moves mean that you just left your creator wrestler character on the video game untouched as far as moves. He was just left with default moves. Those moves are the full Nelson slam, the flatliner, and the roll of the dice. Those are the three moves that when you do them, you're basically saying, I don't know. So there you go. Savannah Evans, the return of Savannah Evans.
I think she's been off TV for enough time to where she can be rebuilt as a monster heel. Question is, are they actually going to do it correctly and successfully? Track
Hey, I got a
record says
question.
no.
Yeah, I got a question. Speaking of that track record, you remember Big Con?
Oh my fuck, that was so bad how they handled that. What
Because
the
I'm
fuck?
gonna guess that you had kind of forgotten about him until I just now brought him up.
Yeah, because I was trying to forget about it.
Yeah, not even Big Con, just Con. Now,
Just con. Just con, pal.
yeah, all right. Get me Con, said no one ever. Uh, we
Tony?
show from.
I'll
Oh,
take
go ahead.
Tony Khan.
Yeah, I'll take that guy. I'll take that Con. Um, So Frankie Kazarian is cinematically getting dressed. Because he's got commentary to do later. Then we get Santana promo, as he likes to do, sitting on a chair that's turned around. He's saying that it's just him getting the title. It's not how or if. It's a matter of when. So he's definitely going for that title as the only man to have defeated every member of the system. It's a claim to fame that he has. And then the main event is Fat Eddie and JDC versus Ziggler and Hendry. Kazarian on commentary. We have a match. Dolph is the guest of honor at the Boston Knee Party and ends up taking the pin. And Tom said, like, that's the first time Dolph Ziggler's, well, he said, that's the first time Nick Nemeth has been pinned in TNA. And I was like, and then he said, in 6 months. And I was like, okay, all right, that's fine then. Was it really 6 months ago that Moose beat Dolph Ziggler?
Rebellion.
Time
April.
flying that much?
Yeah, it was back in Rebellion in April.
Oh wow. Well, anyway, so yeah, he and Joe are having words and they're talking up the ramp, and then maybe some light shoving and finger pointing and maybe a little cursing, a little not family friendly language there used, but no physicality really. So they just go off the air with Joe Hendry looking flustered, like, I lost because of this guy, the supposed champion, who I had beat and who probably screwed me. I think Joe Hendry still believes that he has more knowledge of the JBL situation than he lets on. He's got that look on his face, but whatever it is, he's just not happy about losing. I mean, who loses to Fat Eddie? So there was your main event, and there was your Impact episode, unless I missed anything. It seems like I don't know. I guess I guess that was everything. So there you go. Any final thoughts on the episode, the main event, anything?
I'm with Labrat. Where is Ariana Grace? Where is the NXT crossover?
Who has time for that? So anyway, that is that's your Impact review. Now, are you ready to put on the boxing gloves and do some pugilistic work on this episode here?
Yeah, pal, got it ready to go.
All right. When is Indy coming to TNA, Scott? Soon. Real soon.
All right, pal. So we got a recap and catch-up packet. Hines this time.
That is Hines.
Intro, Pyro Ballyhoo. Announce table, rundown card for tonight. Give thoughts on recent events. In-ring, Frankie Kazarian, Joe Hendry, Nick Nemeth, The System. Joe Hendry music and entrance with Kazarian doing the parody. Joe Hendry music and entrance, same parody as on this show. Nick Nemeth music and entrance, same promos on the show. The System music and entrance, same promos on the show. Kazarian gets laid out. Masha Slamovich music and entrance, same promos on the show. The women brawl with Jordan coming out. Santino music and entrance. Same promo that sets up main event for tonight and knockouts tag match for next week. Commercial break number 1. Backstage, Joe Hendry. Gia approaches Hendry and asks him where he's going. Hendry says he wants to know why Santino won't give him a rematch. Match number 1, Rascals versus First Class. Rascals music and entrance. First Class music and entrance. Condensed version of match on the show. Backstage, Santino's office. Hendry is questioning why he's not getting a rematch. Santino explains that he can't give Hendry a title rematch, otherwise he'd be accused of playing favorites. Santino books Hendry versus Kazarian in a cage match next week to keep Hendry happy until he can get something figured out.
Okay, time out. You said something, and I didn't even think about it, but we didn't even have, did we even have Gia on this episode at all?
Nope.
No Gia?
No Gia.
Do you think that, no, she should have been there. All right, well, anyway, I was just wondering in case, like, I forgot about something that she did on the show, but no, she wasn't there. All right, please continue.
So yeah, he books the cage match of Hendry versus Kazarian next week. And then when Joe Hendry leaves the office, Santino is seen texting on his phone. Go to our second commercial break. You go backstage to Santino's office. He's on the phone with someone when Kazarian walks in. Kazarian asks what the deal is with the cage match next week. Santino says that Kazarian is a huge part of his problem, so this is his way of solving it. Match
Does
2.
Does he ask like Seinfeld, like, what's the deal with a cage match? No. He's doing impressions, so I just thought.
That'd be funny if he did, though. Maybe. Who knows? Match number 2, Josh Alexander and the Good Hands versus Jonathan Gresham, Steve Macklin, and Eric Young. Josh Alexander and the Good Hands music and entrance. Same pre-match promos on the show. Jonathan Gresham music and entrance. Steve Macklin music and entrance. Eric Young music and entrance. Same matches on the show. And they go to a vignette of PCO and Steph DeLander. They meet at a hotel. Steph congratulates PCO on his victory and says she has a surprise for him. Gives him a gift. The two leave the room and begin their evening together. Go to a vignette of Rosemary. Rosemary has completely lost her mind and declares war on the TNA Knockout and NXT women's divisions and says she'll pop up anywhere, anytime. Highlights: Mike Bailey versus Vikingo from Bound for Glory. Backstage, Mike Bailey, Trent Seven, and the System, same as on the show, but with an exception. Seven and Bailey walk off and leave the System in the shot. JDC says that he's starting to recognize New York style games being played and wonders if they're being set up for something. Commercial break number 3. Backstage, Nick Nemeth's locker room. Nick Nemeth is getting ready for the main event. Joe Hendry enters. Joe says he has to ask him directly. Does Nemeth know anything? Did he know anything was going to happen with JBL Bound for Glory? Nemeth says JBL told him he wouldn't be there that night. Joe Hendry accepts it and leaves. Nemeth gets a text message. Match number 3, Danny Luna versus Ash by Elegance. Danny Luna music and entrance. Ash by Elegance music and entrance with Concierge and Heather by Elegance. Same matches on the show. You go backstage to the Systems locker room. JDC and Eddie Edwards are getting ready, and Myers is in there with them. There's a knock at the door, and they tell the person to come in. Matt Cardona enters and exchanges pleasantries with Myers. Matt wishes JDC and Edwards luck before he says he has business to take care of and excuses himself. JDC says that something doesn't seem right. Commercial break number 4. We go to the pre-tape with Mike Santana, same as on the show. Package, Chris Bay, highlights of his career while explaining what happened to him, and then end it with links and QR codes for donations. Sit-down interview with Ace Austin and Tom Hannafan. Quick interview about the history of ABC and Austin's friendship with Chris Bay. Match number 4, Maggie Moore versus Lei Ying Lee. Maggie Moore already in the ring. Lei Ying Lee music and entrance. Same as matches on the show. Savannah Evans returns and attacks Lei Ying Lee. Vignette, Alexander Hammerstone and Jake Something. They make fun of what happened to Chris Bay and announce their intentions to come after the Hardys for the tag titles.
Yeah, I remember those guys.
Backstage, Gia and the Hardys. The Hardys put over Chris Bay and wish him well. The Hardys condemn Hammerstone and something for their comments and say they'll defend the titles anytime. Match number 5, Kushida and Kevin Knight versus Mike Bailey and Trent Seven. Kushida and Kevin Knight, music and entrance. Mike Bailey and Trent Seven, music and entrance. Kushida and Kevin Knight over after communication by Bailey and Seven. Seven gets angry, yells at Bailey, and walks backstage alone. We go backstage. We see the door to Santino's office. Muffled voices are heard speaking. Matt Cardona exits the office and walks out of the shot. We go to our 5th and final commercial break, come back with a New Japan hype video, go to the announce table, rundown card for next week. Match number 6, our main event, Eddie Edwards and JDC versus Joe Hendry and Nick Nemeth. Eddie Edwards and JDC, music and entrance. Joe Hendry, music and entrance. Nick Nemeth, music and entrance. Condensed version of match on the show. The finish this time is a ref bump. While the heels are in control, Nemeth is getting double teamed before Hendry attacks Edwards and JDC. Nemeth rolls to the outside of the ring and Kazarian runs down to blast Hendry with a chair. Edwards over after Boston Knee Party. The System celebrate to close the show while Nemeth checks on Hendry. Now that I think about it, instead of Kazarian, it should have been Cardona. That was my bad. I should have changed that. But we can fix that right here. We'll make that Cardona.
I mean, come on. You're the boss. You can make the change. I don't even forget that you ever said Frankie Kazarian. Who is that guy? Never heard of him. Is that the Killer Kowalski? The guy that just never shuts up about being a Killer Kowalski guy? And he has a delicious tan or something?
But ultimately, where this is going to lead to is a thing where it turns out that there's actually been a conspiracy going on between JBL, Nick Nemeth, Frankie Kazarian, Matt Cardona, and Santino.
The former WWE people?
And in turn, it's going to end up flipping the system as baby faces, where they enter like into uneasy alliance with Joe Hendry, where it's like, well, they're targeting us and we need each other. Like basically they're kind of like right now in this formative thing, they're kind of playing the system as pawns. And a kind of a key component of that is Cardona's friendship with Myers and him kind of playing that.
Does this mean there will be much more Moose featured on the show?
There will be more Moose. Babyface Moose.
Well, I don't know if I like that, but as long as he's just still acting like he always acts, then it should be fine.
Okay, I was not aware of that content existing.
Yeah, was this on one of their, like... now that I think of it, there was a... As we were going off the air on Impact, the announcers were saying something about following Nick Nemeth. So, like, I assume they were going to get some exclusive footage for whatever. But, obviously I didn't watch it. I don't know if they did. So, they just ended the show with Nick Nemeth going and leaving Joe Hendry, but the announcers were talking like the cameras were going to follow Nemeth for something. So whatever that was, I don't know.
Why don't they... I thought of something. Why don't they bring Reaction back as a social media show for like that follows up after Impact? Like a YouTube show or like on Twitter, like show it on YouTube, Twitter.
I don't know. And frankly, I wouldn't even know if they actually did do that because I'm just not paying enough attention to anything outside of, the TV program. So, and whatever, if I follow any of the wrestlers and they post something, but other than that, I'm not really seeing what else TNA is doing. But Yeah. Yes, perhaps in my coverage of the match, I didn't point out whatever miscommunications that Hendry and Dolph had, which I'm sure were, obvious that that kind of stuff is going to happen. It's one of the easiest, laziest. Are they going to coexist? That whole thing. So, but yeah. Oh yeah, lots of interesting developments. But I don't know. They're not that interesting. I don't feel that interesting right now. Feel like we should probably take it home. Um, we like to welcome Zane and Jerome to the Impact Attack. So showing it right before the final bell. So what's up to those guys? And what else do we got? Anything? Are we just about ready to wrap it up?
Wrap that shit up, B.
All right. Well, tell the people where they can find you, Brandon.
You can catch me on Twitter, or as the kids call it these days, the X at LG Brandon Whoop. I am also on twitch.tv/LG Brandon Whoop Whoop, streaming at least once a week. Definitely every Wednesday night after the AEW Dynamite watch along. Also got Substack at HMG Brandon. And then see our schedule this week for the watch alongs. Tomorrow, probably going to take the night off because of just all the craziness going on. Or actually, not really sure. That's kind of up in the air. I haven't decided yet.
Could be a lot of work.
Could be a lot of work. Couldn't need an escape for a lot of people to get to kind of get away from all that craziness.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll figure something out. Stay tuned for tomorrow night. Wednesday night, we're doing AEW Dynamite watch along. Followed up, of course, by OG old school video game stream. Thursday night, we're doing a replay of NXT. Friday night, a late start of SmackDown watch along at the famous 1.25 times speed.
Mm-hmm.
Saturday, HMG After Dark. And then Sunday, the TNA Impact replay watch along. And then next Monday, right back here with the Impact Attack. Yeah, pal.
All right. Well, we've got quite a week there. What'd you end up what was last week's game stream? What were you playing?
Trying to remember. Oh, Zero Tolerance on the Sega Genesis.
Oh. All right. Well, there you go.
Yeah, the
Zero
first
Tolerance of the Sega Genesis.
First person shooter I ever played.
I see. So with that being said, you can catch me on all your favorite social media platforms at Opinion Haver. You can catch me every Wednesday, 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern, for the Next Level Wrestling Review with Big Ray Hernandez. However, this Next Level Wrestling Review will be on Thursday because NXT is on a Wednesday because of the aforementioned craziness. So, look forward to that. A special Thursday Next Level. And then, of course, every Sunday at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern, Jimmy T and I are for The Wreckage, where we talk about the entire week of happenings in AEW. We'd be so happy if you could join us for that. And you also can find me this week on Wrestling with Rip Rogers because I'm supposed to be doing some remote hosting. So it's going to be a Rip and Vet reunion. We're going to handle all the questions from all the people. And who knows what we'll get up to, what kind of shenanigans we might get up to on Wrestling with Rip Rogers. So if you enjoy seeing me, then please tune into that for a live Q&A with the one and only Rib Rogers, without whom I wouldn't be sitting here now. And that should be at the concrete time. It's going to be anytime I'm on a show, it's concrete. So that concrete time is Friday, 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. We should be on and live. So, and Vaughn Lilas will be around, but he asked me to help him out, and I was happy to. So with that, and with, of course, the Stevie Richards Show every week, Friday, also new episodes drop. This past time, he was talking about creating a wrestler, but not in a video game. What does it take to be a wrestling superstar in real life? So listen to that conversation, quite fascinating. He also tries to guess wrestlers' shoot heights, which, sorry, Stevie, you're not good at that game. But just for anybody that's wondering, the easy formula that I have figured out is you take the build, height, and weight, and you subtract 2 inches and subtract roughly 30 pounds. And you should get something a little bit closer to what they actually are. But yeah. So, check all that stuff out and everything else. Be sure to hit the notification on the YouTube thing so that even if you're not sure if something moves a day, like the Next Level, people aren't, not everybody that likes the Next Level Wrestling Review is here right now hearing me say this. So if all you guys, whenever you get the chance, you hit that bell to get notified, then it doesn't matter if we switch days. You'll just get a notification, and then you'll be like, oh, they're live. I'm going to drop what I'm doing, and I'm going to rush home and watch. So that is how you do that. So everybody out there, be very careful with everything going on. It's going to be bananas tomorrow probably. So just always be aware of your surroundings and what everybody else is doing. They may not be paying attention, so make sure that you are, and you'll avoid any catastrophes, hopefully, and you'll be able to come back with us the next time we are on. Brandon, do you have anything else to add?
Just a little personal anecdote. Normally, I am off on Tuesdays.
Mm-hmm.
I work for my main job at Papa John's. This particular Tuesday, they happen to schedule me 12 to 8. You motherfuckers. I don't want to be in public on this day, you bastards. Oh, you fucking assholes.
Hey, but you'll be in the pizza buying a public. Eh. Or to quote the great TNA director of authority, "You're making me so mad." So, all right, but yes, everybody, be careful out there, be smart, and we will see you back here next week. And for Brandon, I'm the vet, and I don't have a sign-off line.